What's up, boomers? Welcome back to another episode of the Coop and Goose podcast.
I was not expecting the boomers call out.
We got ourselves over here, the Goose and Coop. So far, our goal is to find a better story than the camping one. The I count 5.
Yeah, the camping one 6. And the wife peeking around corners.
Yes, wife peeking. Them two stories so far have been a banger.
They're the best stories so far.
Which brings us to today's story. We have ourselves here, Don't Look, by Bear Who Writes.
Don't Look. How am I supposed to read it?
Well, you're looking right at it.
No, I'm looking off to the side now.
Well, right now on screen, you're looking at the script.
Oh, shit.
There you go.
Don't look. How am I supposed to read it?
This story is written by Bears Who Writes. It's actually posted 16 days ago of the day of recording this episode.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? First look at it, just looking right at her. And it is a series, so this more likely will be another part series.
From my understanding, what I've seen, it's a 4-part series with a confirmed finale, so it should just be only 4 parts. I mean, it's 4-part series, so hopefully it's good. That's all I can ask for, I guess.
Pretty much what I expect to gain from this first episode is a little bit of spook, but mainly story building, and a little bit of creepiness.
Yeah, a lot of story building would be nice. Maybe we can kind of get some how the world works within the story. Like maybe it takes place in the real world, or maybe it's like a fantasy, like there's different rules or something.
Do you want to go, or do you want me to
go? I can go for a bit. All right. Don't Look by Bear Who Writes. I wanted to post this in case anyone has had a similar experience and could offer me any advice. I also wanted anyone willing to listen to hear the truth of my story in case something happens to me in the coming days or weeks. And above all else, I wanted to warn anyone that if this happens to them and their family, don't look. Well, immediately there's some mystery to it.
Yeah, it's 100% like, what are we not supposed to look at?
Yeah, what are we not supposed to look at? Is this Bird Box, the movie? It all started when I lost my mother. No love for myself and no love for another. Whoops, sorry, my bad. Papa Roach lyrics. Whoops. You don't even know who that is, so I wasn't going to get a reaction out of you. It all started when I was 10, when I was a 10-year-old girl, and I met an imaginary friend in my house. I could only ever make him out as a shadow, but judging by his size, build, and voice, I guess he was of similar age to me. I tried to ask him his name several times, but every time I did, he would just say he can't remember, that he forgets sometimes, and then would grow sad, so I stopped asking. We'd play games like hide and seek and tag, although I could never actually feel him when I'd touch him. Or just sit there and talk for hours. He'd tell me stories about the world he existed in, how it was apparently different from our own, but layered right on top of it. So like a spiritual realm. How it was dark and cold there, but that I made him feel warm and he was when he was around me. I could only ever see or hear him in the dark when I was alone, which often led to me sneaking around the house at night and us trying to keep our laughter down so that my parents wouldn't wake up and scold me for being out of bed.
Right off the bat.
So, it's paranormal.
Sorry, yeah, right off the bat, it's definitely a demon. I'm just gonna go ahead and say
yeah.
Definitely demon-esque, ghosty, but we're looking at...
Chalk that down to the second thing Cooper has predicted, as in the series, immediately.
We just need to get the Phasmophobia book and just be like, all right, what is it?
Like, all right, is it an Oni? Is it a yokai?
We ruled it out on this one.
And then even if we had everything right, it would still tell us that we were wrong.
Yeah.
That game's tough.
But that's, honestly, thinking about it, that's a little spooky on the fact, like, what would you do if you found your child 2 a.m.? just laughing, giggling, running around, talking to something, just in the dark, 100% in the dark with no light?
I would probably be pretty pissed off because they woke me up and I have to go to work early. So
I'd get rid of the child.
and no, here and example number 17 of Cooper jumping to 100 immediately.
Can't take no chances. Get that demon at my house.
Did that the first episode of wife peeking around the corner? You were like immediately like, I would just straight up kill her, dude.
If this bitch ran away on all fours at 3 a.m., fuck that.
I would just straight up burn the house down.
I'm gonna straight up kick your ass. Pa, 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 pa. All right.
As I grew closer with him, I'd often tell him that he should live with us, since he didn't have any parents of his own anymore. They all died, and he'd grow sad, saying that he can't come into the light. I began telling my parents and older siblings about him. Anyway, I'm still asking on his behalf if he could live with us, thinking that my parents might know something he or I didn't about how to help him get back into the light, where he could live as a normal boy, go to school with me, and maybe even my boyfriend, Jesus, and husband one day. They would just tell me that it was my imaginary friend and that I'd grow out of it and find real friends at school eventually. But I would always just spend my days giddily waiting for late at night when I could play with him instead. He was my best friend.
Interesting.
Then one night I was watching an old VHS. I like to think it would be like Thomas the Train or something. I don't remember which one. In my older brother's room, along with my older sister, Chris, 15, Lily, 14. I fell asleep when Chris woke me up to take me to bed. The TV was just playing static now, as the VHS. For the people who don't know, a VHS is before DVDs and before MP4 and MP3 files.
We can really narrow down the generation. If y'all know,
we can tell that this is millennial
VHS tape. You're aware.
Yeah, Grinch VHS tape. Which, hold on, which Grinch?
Like, do I like
the old school one?
Jim Carrey's or the
Jim Carrey or the animated one?
Jim Carrey's.
Because the animated one's older than the Jim Carrey one.
Jim Carrey's.
I don't know if that ever came out on VHS. I feel like it did though.
I'd imagine it's old enough.
I had a lot of VHS. I was trying to recall what the most one to watch was. Probably Aladdin for me. I love that movie. Anyway, I forgot where we were. Static now, as the VHS had finished and it was pretty late, with it being dark outside and all the lights being off. As he was helping my sleepy young self up off the bed and Lily stood to leave too, the TV went out. Lily screamed instinctively. I admit I was scared too, but Chris just laughed and told us to hold on while he tried the lights. But they wouldn't come on. The power was out in the house.
Ooh.
I think it's probably just a power outage. There's probably no reason to be scared at all.
Yeah, no demon.
There's nothing. Chris then went over to his nightstand, opened the drawer, pulled out a few small flashlights from a recent pack he had inside, took one for himself, and then handed to me and my sister. Chris was very protective like my dad and fancied himself the prepared type, always having flashlights and pocket knives and things of that nature, as well as warning me not to talk to strangers that talked to me while I was walking home from school. Ithaca. Oh, wait, we have a quote. We have a quote.
So, since you're reading, do I get to do it, or are you doing it still?
I don't know. You could do the quotes this time.
I'm trying to think of a nice character, like the voice of Chris.
So this is the voice of Chris. This is the 15-year-old brother.
Yes.
Really? I almost feel it should be this voice again because he's 15 and he's edgy, and it's slowly becoming British.
I mean, you can do the quotes if you want.
Like, I just don't think. Now, with the flashlights turned on and the beams lighting up the room, we all started to feel a bit better. The power must be out, Chris said, opening his bedroom door and stepping out into the hall. As we followed him out, I heard my friend's voice whisper from somewhere behind us, "Don't look at the shadows," he said, though this time his voice sounded scared and sad for some reason. He's sad a lot. And somehow Chris and Lily could hear him too. Both of them jumped.
Ooh.
Chris immediately knew the voice wasn't one of ours. "Who said that?" He called out, turning every which way. With no reply or seeing no one, Chris continued down the hall. He followed closely behind while we called out for Mom and Dad. As we began entering the kitchen, Chris froze in terror, staring over the kitchen island and into the living room. Predictions? The mom and dad are dead.
No. It's definitely just a giant demon standing there, butt ass naked. You know, Hereditary style. It's just a naked man in the doorway.
Weirdly enough, I don't remember the evil thing from Hereditary.
Well, all I know from the Hereditary, it never officially showed itself, but there is a scene in a dark room, just in the doorway. Like, you have to be paying attention to see it. It's just a naked man in a robe going.
See, I remember the movie. Like, it's a great movie, but I just don't remember that. I'll have to look up the clip because, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely look that up.
I turned my head around his body to get a look at what he saw. Oh, sorry, a heartburn. Okay, anyway, I turned my head around his body to get a look at what he saw, as I was too short to look over the island like he could, but all I could make out several feet away, made of shadow, like a little boy standing in the dark of the living room. I began hearing incoherent whispering, sounding out in cacophony. Who's there? What are you doing? Sorry. Who's there? What are you doing in my house? Chris yelled. Then a moment later, he was gone. He disappeared from right in front of me. His clothes, and the flashlight he held dropped to the ground in a pile, like he had never been there to begin with. Jesus,
Chris?
So just fucking Chris is just straight gone.
He was fucking Star Trek teleported.
Beam me up, Scotty.
What the fuck?
Which Star Trek? Patrick Stewart Star Trek for me.
Yeah. So Chris is gone. What the fuck?
He's dead.
That's very interesting. All right, I guess we'll see what happens.
I'm about halfway through the story. Do you want me to finish it?
Is it halfway through already?
Yeah, we're about halfway through.
Jesus Christ!
I didn't realize how fast we were blowing through it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, here, let me
come with more banter.
Let me take over.
Actually, I have a prediction. I
think
that Chris is not dead. I think he was transported to the other, like,
the dark,
reality.
cold room, or the cold area, the place where the fucking little shadow guy kept saying he was.
Yeah,
from.
that whatever that plane of existence is, that's where he is now.
100%.
She grabbed my hand, pulling me along as she ran back into Chris's room, where she slammed the door shut and jumped onto the bed, pulling me up with her as we both began to cry. Now, you're going to do Lily's voice. She's a 14-year-old girl, so you do that voice, okay?
Oh, God. Ugh.
Because get ready, the quote's coming up.
14-year-old girl?
Yeah, channel your inner 14-year-old girl.
Right,
that may sound bad. That's when I heard the little shadow boy. Oh, never mind. The little shadow boy again. This is me. "Don't look under the bed," he whispered from somewhere in the dark. Lily shrieked at that and began pulling the covers over us.
"It's safe in the closet."
This time the whisper sounded similar to my friend's, as it appered to be the voice
that was a whisper.
Of a little boy. Yeah, that was the whisper.
Fuck.
That's better.
I thought it was the little 14-year-old girl.
It's safe in the closet.
What are we supposed to do, older sister? Run. Get the fuck out of here. Lily, however, sorry. The whisper sounded familiar, and I could tell. Lily, however, could not. In a panic, she jumped off the bed and reached for the closet door handle. No! I tried to warn as I began pulling the covers up over my head, but it was too late. She threw the closet drawers open, looked at something inside, and then vanished, her clothes dropping into a pile just as I pulled the covers over my eyes.
Okay. What's hilarious is that my mess up quote right there worked out perfectly because I quoted the demon.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah.
Hey, quit that. So now.
Did you get scared again? Are you scared?
No. Rocky's barking.
Oh, okay. I just see him. Wait, Rocky and I are the same color scheme right now.
Yeah, bro. Here's what I'm interested on. So they get teleported, right?
Yeah.
Are they naked now?
Moving on. I could hear more incoherent whispering all through the night as I hid there crying, feeling like I was surrounded by those attempting to trick me to come out. You could insinuate yes, by the way. But I think the reason why is they're being turned into shadow people. That's what I think.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So, now, granted, we still got a lot of story to go before we get our answers. So This is going to be really interesting because these things in the first episode are going to have payoff way later down the line.
100%. So, this is a whole build.
Yeah, no, this is sick. All night, my friend just whispered to me over and over again, "Don't look," he said. "Don't look." As morning drew near and the first light began seeping through the closed shutters of Chris's window, my friend changed his tone. "It's over now," he said, "but they'll be back tomorrow." Wait, hold on. This is still part of the quote. "I'll see you then, remember. Don't look." And then he was gone. I was so afraid. Rocky.
Yeah, I know. He's barking, little bitch.
I was so afraid that I waited for several more hours, not ashamed to admit that I had to pee myself at one point. Don't we all? Oh, excuse me. As I could not hold it in anymore. Eventually, I can say this word, I just can't figure it out. Hesitantly unveiled myself. My eyes immediately began drawn to my sister's pile of clothes, as I hoped that it was all somehow just a vivid nightmare, even though I knew inside my heart that it wasn't. I tentatively wandered out of Chris's room, passing his pile of clothes on the floor next to the kitchen, as I called out for my mom and dad, being extra careful not to look anywhere the shadow could be hiding, using the sunlight now streaming into the house to shield me. Well, I'm going to take a guess and say the parents are actually dead.
Yeah, I feel like
they have to be.
But
like, if they never looked, like if they were sleeping and they never looked, then
the parents know what's happening. They're just laying in bed like fucking idiots.
He's like, dumbass kids didn't look.
Yeah, fuck it.
They looked.
You stop hearing Chris's voice. Oh, fucking! I thought I raised him better.
They're like, oh, thank God that guy's fucking gone. He has the same voice as another guy in another story. Upon entering my parents' room, I found the clothes that they had been wearing the night before scattered across their respective sides of the bed and on the ground beside it. I think they were gone. I didn't know how to call for help as the power was out. Jesus. I didn't have a cell phone yet, and I didn't know the passwords to anybody else's. That's the glorious thing about it, is you don't have to. You can just...
Yeah, you can actually
let me think about this before I do it. You can just call upon your personal assistant and ask them to call emergency services.
Yeah.
I almost did it, and then my phone would have done it.
That's funny.
I know now that I should have went outside to look for help, but I was afraid that something would be wanting to take me, or or that a stranger would kidnap me. Um, when I asked Chris, when I asked, like Chris had warned me about. Sorry, I don't know what that was. Minor stroke. Every night I hide under my covers, crying as a coherent whispering surrounds me. And every night the shadow boy would come and whisper, "Don't look." He said over and over again, "Don't look." It took almost a week for my grandparents to finally show up, having grown worried that no one had been answering their calls. Why wasn't she answering their calls? She could have been like, "Hey, my family is dead. Come help me. I'm trapped."
She didn't know the password to answer the phone.
You don't have to know the fucking password for a cell phone to answer a call.
I don't know. That's her first flaw in the story right there.
Yeah, that's all right.
But she's also young, so she's scared. So I mean,
yeah, she's fair. Like 10. So
she probably just camped out in her bedroom the whole time. And I'm not.
It sounded like she was kind of like hiding in Chris's room or something. So
yeah, I think where they started. So
yeah, exactly where they left off. She probably just stayed there. So
yeah, and I can only imagine the grandparents walking in smelling, unless she actually said "fucking" went to the bathroom in the toilet.
Or yeah, it's like she's like, "I'm 10. I didn't know the passwords for my parents' cell phone, so I just shit on the floor."
The power's out. The toilet doesn't flush.
Yeah, the power's out. I can't flush the toilet.
Fuck. Oh god.
Well, I mean, you technically wouldn't be able to take a hot shower with the power off, but you can still flush a fucking toilet. We're getting angry about something that's literally not a thing in the story. Yeah. We made that up.
All right. Before we just start hating.
It took almost a week for my grandparents to finally show up. I already read this part. Worried that nobody had been answering their calls, letting themselves in with their key, finding me dirty, disheveled, and terrified. They immediately took me out of the house when they couldn't find the rest of the family and called the cops. I went to live with my grandparents after that. And for a long time, the case of my family's disappearance was investigated. Of course, no one would believe me about what happened. And eventually the final ruling was that there was a break-in and my family was abducted. And I was the only one who was spared because I was a child. And because I hadn't seen the criminals' faces, thus why the criminals kept warning me not to look. Interesting.
I mean, I could see how they could rationalize that from a so-called 10-year-old, maybe.
Yeah, but it would almost be looked at like somebody. I wouldn't say like the family. I feel like in real life, the court would judge it as like the family was murdered and then the bodies were taken and then that's why they spared her. But like the other ones are kids too, 15 and 14. Like, you know. Fuck.
How old are you? 10. Yeah, you're lucky.
Yeah, you're fine. How old are you? Oh, I'm 11. Die!
Your time is up.
I hope you enjoyed your less than a decade. Or I guess a little bit more. Ignore that. They decided that I have altered the story in my mind as a way to cope with the trauma of what had happened. I was sent to regular therapy. Oh, excuse me. And put on medication to help with my PTSD. But I knew the truth. Every time I see PTSD, it's a very serious thing. I don't want to downplay that. But there's a clip from a reality show where this guy is talking about like this girl. And he's like, yeah, she's got like PTSD, like post-traumatic Down syndrome or something like that. It's
damn
fucked up, man. All right. After years of being missing, my family was officially declared dead, and the house was passed down to my grandparents. Wouldn't that be passed up? as my parents had owned it outright. Besides, going back to get some of my things during the day, none of us ever wanted to go back there. So the house sat dormant and alone all this time. I even tried to tell the police that they only come at night, but again, it was all chalked up to the trauma I had from nighttime invasion, and all investigating was done during the day. God dang, excuse me with the yawning. Oh, Jesus, fuck. Oh, never mind. I thought it said, hold on, I'll get to what I thought it said. I am now 25 and I have just graduated college in a master's in child psychology. I thought they said I am a child prodigy. And I was like, all right, let's calm down a little bit.
I am God.
I am a child prodigy. I'm fucking Isaac Newton.
I am him.
I am the Himalayan mountains. My grandparents have both passed away over the last year. Jesus. My grandmother from early onset Alzheimer's. My grandfather from various health complications due to alcoholism he picked up after losing practically his entire family overnight. The house was now passed to me, but I've stayed away this whole time. Though now I'm planning to go back one final time, spending the night in an attempt to get answers, and I see if I can't solve what happened to my family in these upcoming days. I believe if the Shadow Boy is still there, he may be able to give me some answers as to what really happened. I plan to make plenty of survival precautions like my brother and my dad would have, and I don't plan to look. But I plan to sell the house for dirt cheap and use the money to move out of state where I'll get my own place and begin looking for a position in my field. I don't want to sell the house to anyone, to any unsuspecting family, just for this to happen to them also. So I want to make sure that those things, whatever they are not there anymore. I don't want it attached to me or my new life anyway. However, it is... shit. And it's not like I can go burn it down, nor can I afford property taxes and homeowners insurance to keep it. That got real. I wasn't expecting that in this horror story. I also want answers, though, to know what happened to my family and me, and I often think of the little shadow boy from back then that would play with me at night and tried to protect me during those nights of terror. I often wonder if he was just a little kid like me and they came for him too. I wonder if he looked.
All right. Well, short and sweet. That honestly, part one is 100% literally just a build up. It gives you a little bit.
Yeah, it's all build up. Yeah,
it's 100% what's happening. Here's what happened. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great start so far. We have the event. So now the story is going to have a perfect opportunity to build upon it. So I'm actually pretty excited for this.
All right. Well, it looks like we'll jump into part 2 here, and I shall take over for this one because you read the whole part 1 on your own.
And I apologize if it was boring.
It's story building. It's just a whole plot build. And
I just felt very monotone. You have to forgive me. I'm a little stuffy.
I'm glad I had my one part. I played the demon.
Yeah, you played the demon, and it worked out really well, even though you're supposed to be a 14-year-old girl.
Hey, I'm a demon. All right, we got... All right, so here's the first thing. Before we get into part 2, what are your expectations right now? So she's 25, going back to the house for one more night, apparently. Do you think she's going to eventually just say, fuck it, I'm going to look at it, get to where the shadow people sent her family and then try to escape, or...
Yeah, actually, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So you literally nailed what I was going to say. I think she's going to try to get answers, and then she's going to get frustrated that this little shadow boy is worthless piece of shit, and his parents never loved him, and that's why he's a shadow kid. So she's going to look, and it's going to be like, what's those fucking movies? Not Insidious, not Paranormal Activity. Maybe it is Insidious.
I think
The
it's
one with
Insidious.
the old lady.
Yep, Insidious.
Yeah,
She goes
it's gonna be
into
like that. Yeah, she goes into the other plane of existence. I think that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like that. Elaine, that's her name from the movies.
Yeah, we will.
She's badass too.
That honestly, Insidious is the first horror movie series that I've ever watched, and I love all of them.
Paranormal Activity was the first ones that I really sat down and watched for me.
Those scared me a little.
That was like a multi-franchise, like a multi-movie franchise.
I watched Paranormal Activity 2. My mom bought a DVD from this garage sale.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. We're watching it, and I was like, the quality looks like ass, and I'm very confused. Halfway, so almost to the end.
Yeah.
Somebody stands up, and then we figure out it's being filmed in a theater. Somebody's filming it illegally.
Oh no!
And
shit!
burned it onto it. Somebody stood up and walked. I was like, "Who's that?"
Wait a minute. I've watched a few movies like that. When I was overseas, I watched a few movies like that.
I'm like, "It's a demon. He's walking off the screen."
And like, none of the characters in the movie are reacting to it. And like, how did they not see that?
All right. Let's get into part 2.
It's been
part 2. It's been 4 days since my first post, and yesterday I finally worked up the courage to return to the house. I'm not ashamed to admit that I had to take 3 shots from a bottle of whiskey my grandfather had left behind to do so. Not enough to get me drunk or lose my wits, but just enough to help the fear. It'd take me more than 3 for sure.
Yeah, I would be dead at 3. I would be a little shadow boy at 3. I can't handle my whiskey no more.
I stood outside staring at the house, trying to will myself to go in, but the intense feeling of almost supernatural dread, combined with all the memories flooding back, locked me in place. All the good before that night, the terrors of the night that followed. I eventually decided I couldn't go back in, and I turned to leave. Noticed a man standing several yards away with tears in his eyes, also staring at the house. Ooh, probably a previous owner.
It's the Shadow Man. Shadow Boy.
He must be a few years older than me. A natural, handsome, and tall man with short blonde hair and stubble covering his face. Though he looked a bit thin and ragged, with dark bags under his eyes, like he hadn't slept or eaten in days. Is it Chris? I froze and I stared at him for a time, feeling an intense sense of familiarity. What the fuck is? I know the word
familiarity. That's it.
Yeah, there it is. Even though I know I've never met him before, I thought it might just be the PTSD driven.
Post-traumatic Down syndrome.
I tried to laugh, but I sucked in air.
We're not making fun of that. It's just if you know the clip, you know the clip. Yeah. It's funny to me. I'm sorry. Sue me. Don't sue me.
My current environment stirring up false assumptions, but I swear he reminds me of the Shadow Boy. The grown-up version I imagined of him when we were kids, and thinking about what he'd be like when we got married one day, except this man appeared greatly sadder than the happy husband I had imagined. After a minute or two of staring at the house, he noticed me from the corner of his eyes.
Shadow Boy.
He turned to face me immediately, beginning to panic as he wiped his tears from his eyes with the back of his hands, turned to leave.
What?
It's a quote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought all the audio got lost. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Where are we?
Hey, wait.
Oh, wait. Hey, wait.
I called out as I started to follow after him. His pace quickened as he crossed the street.
Wait, do you know me?
I asked as I followed him across the street. A driver on the road having to stomp on their brakes to avoid hitting me and blaring their horn in frustration. I continued on, determined not to lose him. He bothered one look back, and then his pace increased so much that I was sure he was about to break into a sprint.
Do you know about the shadows?
I screamed in desperation. Could you imagine being in that car, have your window down, and you hear them go, "Do you know about the shadows?"
And then they both stop, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is a fucking nutcase right now."
He froze in place, coming to a dead stop, and slowly turned back to face me with a horrified look on his face. I finished catching up to him, maintaining a reasonable space of a few feet distance as I caught my breath and clutched my hand to my chest.
How do you know?
He asked in abject terror, his green hazel eyes wet with tears.
I just want answers to what happened to me and my family.
I responded.
Please, if you know anything, just tell me. I get the feeling we might have more in common than either of us knows.
He thought for a minute, his eyes beginning to wander, and I couldn't help but think he sometimes saw things that weren't really there.
Let's grab a coffee and talk.
He finally decided.
Away from here,
He added after several seconds, daring a look back at the house. I agreed. As we walked, him hurrying away in the opposite direction of the house, and my much shorter legs struggling to keep up with his pace, I observed his body language. He was in constant survival mode, and you could tell his shoulders were raised and tense. His hands were stuffed into the belly pockets of his baggy gray hoodie, and he constantly seemed to mumble or whisper to himself inaudibly. We ended up walking for what I could guess was about 2 to 3 miles before I noticed we were passing by a small coffee shop and called out to him. He had clearly been so lost in his own mind that he was hurrying right past it without realizing, desperate to create distance between himself and the house. Though, to his credit, when I called out to him and pointed out the coffee shop, he immediately acknowledged me, snapped back into the moment, and gentlemanly held the door open for me before following me inside.
Chivalry is not dead. Chivalry is not dead, ladies and gentlemen.
I ordered my typical drink, iced caramel frappe. Hey,
Same.
good drink. And he ordered a strong black coffee they had. The strongest black coffee they had. After getting our respected drinks and setting down, oh God, he grew lost in his mind again for a few minutes, the sadness and moisture in his eyes never receding as he started off nervously and rapidly moving his lips in small and hard to comprehend motions, though no sound ever escaped him. I decided to give him his space and let him take his time, feeling incredibly compassion for him. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, incredible compassion.
Incredible compassion for him. Even if I didn't fully understand why. It turned out we were more similar than I could have ever imagined. The shadows had come for him too when he was a young teen, though in a different house, in a different city. Ooh, is this like the main house, you think? Because why would he come from a different city?
If it was an entirely different house, how would he end up at this one? Maybe he's been like tracking it or something.
Or it's in his dreams. I'm gonna call it. It's in his dreams, I bet. I don't intend to reveal his
Oh.
personal details or information. However, when they took his little brother. He explained to me that his brother, although a few years younger than him, had a much more adventurous and curious spirit than him. So when they came, he grew scared, avert his eyes, and hid while his brother looked, vanishing, his clothes falling to the ground, just as they had to my family. Since then, he has struggled with intense survival's guilt his entire life and never moved on, always blaming himself for having not saved his little brother. Same as me, no one believed him about what had really happened. Different from me, however, due to his parents' reliance?
Yeah.
Due to his parents' reliance on sleeping pills, they hadn't woken up through the night when the shadow came for them. So they had not been taken like mine had. Ooh, there you go. You can defeat this with drugs.
That's the message of the story.
As his brother's disappearance, his parents ended up selling their home and moving out of state to my city, which I will always keep private to avoid anyone attempting to find my house or find the house. Months after the incident, he began seeing his what?
Needlessly aggressive.
He began seeing his little brother as a shadow coming to visit him, but no others arrived with him like they had that night. At first, this terrified him and drove him mad, but over time, he began to believe that it really was his brother and that he wasn't there. That he wasn't there to take him like the others had been. They would begin, oh gosh, they would begin talking in the dark at night as he had horrible sleep issues ever since the event. His little brother would tell him about a friend he made, asking him to go, oh gosh, asking him to follow him to my house to meet her. Pause. Do you think the so his brother made friends with the ghost boy, the shadow boy? And the shadow boy and them were trying to like, hey, go help her.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah,
Or they're just leading him to the house for them both to get taken or
for
something.
to both be abducted, maybe. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I'm curious because like the skeptic in me wants to just say that the shadow boy is part of the problem.
True, probably.
But he's gone out of his way to like not have the MC look. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
At first, he would refuse, scared that it could be a trick, but eventually he gave in, following his brother to my house at night and
Jesus.
watching as he phased through the door to go inside. His little brother apparently excitedly laughing the whole way there. He came to the conclusion that these were grief hallucinations he was having after his little brother went inside and left, never coming to the door. The last time he saw his little brother's shadow, he came to him crying, saying that it happened again to his friends, family. His brother's the shadow boy.
It has to be. That's what I'm thinking
Yes, because
Yeah.
he came out crying, saying that it happened again to his friend's family, that it was all his fault for leading them there. He said that it was dangerous to be around him and that he must stay alone in the dark forever to protect people. After that, he began to miss his brother and wish he had interacted with him more while he was still around, even as a shadow. He often finds himself wandering back to my house, but he can never bring himself to knock on the door or try to go inside, even though sometimes at night he could swear he'd hear his little brother crying coming from within. That's kind of fucked. During our conversation, where I also shared my experience with him, I debated on telling him about the shadow boy or whether I should leave him out to protect the grief stricken man. Ultimately, I decided he deserved to know the full truth, and I was glad I did, learning that his brother had also recently begun playing with an imaginary friend at night before all of this had happened to them both, to the both of us. He would come out at night and see or hear him and just laugh it off as his brother's powerful imagination, leaving him be to play. Sharing every detail with him, we both eventually came to the conclusion that the little boy in the shadows was indeed his brother and that I was the friend he would come to visit. It took a lot of debate and much fear and reservation on both of our ends, but we ultimately decided to go back into the house together to look for his brother and the answers we both seek in 2 days from now. I debated. Sorry, I gotta put this on the screen. I debated on whether or not to continue updating anyone who would read my story, or if I was better kept to myself, or if it was better kept to myself. But I ultimately decided that I would see this through to the end and share any answers I find with anyone that is willing to listen. You'll hear more from me in a few days, so long as the worst doesn't happen. So long as the worst doesn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a fucking duo. It's a tag team adventure.
That's
like
awesome.
Shrek and Don.
Making waffles. That's pretty cool.
On another whirlwind adventure.
I like how the little boy, like, so this happened. What was it? Did she say this guy was a little older than him?
Yeah. So, but it sounded like the brother that he lost was older than him.
No, I think it was a younger brother. That was her age.
Oh yeah, they took his little brother. Yeah.
And
that's right. Yeah.
what's interesting is that the little brother literally brought him to the house before they got taken, and then eventually they got taken, and he was outside the house all those times before. So he just constantly comes back to this house for the longest time. That's just
interesting.
Wild.
Well, if the cops were doing an investigation, then they would just start assuming that he was the person who did it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
because they always come back to the scene of the crime.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, who's this man in the gray hoodie?" I don't know. He's been there for a week.
I don't know. He shows up every single night. In fact, security camera has him at the front door of the house the night that they were all kidnapped. So
he was crying. It was kind of weird. All right. Welcome back, gamers. We're back for Don't Look Part 2. We're finishing the story. Yeah. We're going to see what happens.
Part 3 and 4 today.
Okay. I know it's in the Discord. I got to find it here in a sec.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Found it?
Yeah. Forgot I always have to click on
the other thing.
Dude, it's fucking gone.
What do you mean? What?
The story's fucking deleted.
What do you mean it's deleted?
Pull it up.
Where? What do you mean?
It's just straight not here. It says, sorry, this post was deleted by the person who originally posted it.
No shot, bro. Let me.
What the fuck?
Screen.
Did we seriously miss? Did we miss recording?
What do you mean it's deleted? Sorry,
I pushed the recording off for a week and I screwed us.
Yeah. We actually read the part 1 2 weeks ago, and we just got back to this. So there's 5 comments. Why can't I not see all 5?
Yeah, I'm only seeing 2 comments, and then it even has a comment underneath one of them that's deleted.
Is this a? Did we just come across a like a lore, like a Don't Sleep lore, or
like you think
cryptid?
It's part of the story?
Like, is it cryptid? Because if you so you look at the comments. First comment,
yeah,
please don't go. There might be some way to get help without risking your very life.
See, but I remembered these comments when we read it from before. I
guess those comments were a month. Wait. Yeah, those were a month ago.
Yeah, because the story was, it looks like it was posted a month ago.
Well, can we find?
But why are
part
the
two?
comments still there, but the post is gone? Like
Yeah,
I thought refreshing it would help, but it's gone.
Can we find a Don't Look Part 2? We fudged. We missed it.
Bro, I pushed back the recording 1 week because we had some things going on, and now the story is gone.
So what
Are
can
you
we?
kidding me?
What can we remember? So they were legit about to go into the house together.
Yeah,
Guy
they were
and
about
girl,
to go in and confront the shadow people, like the shadow kid, and figure out if they could find their families.
There's no fucking way. Why? We will never know. We're never gonna fucking learn.
About that being like part of the lore, the story was finished.
In a way, we never.
So maybe they're adding more to it.
I mean, the way we ended it, it seemed like a fucking like. All right, we'll wait for the second movie next summer, but
yeah, 2 weeks from now. But like, but why would it just be straight up gone? Like, why wouldn't you just add to it later?
I don't know. But what the fuck, dog? That's actually annoying, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the.
I mean, that's pretty
OP...
cool if that is like supposed to be lore. You know how some people do that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so weird.
Well, okay. Then we got another situation on if, because the person who posted it was also deleted. Like, did they steal the story?
Oh wait, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it says deleted. Like,
oh,
so they could be dead.
They are.
Yo, they could have. They could have fucking looked at the shadow. They could have looked at the thing.
I wish there were more comments.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to inform you that the story will never be finished. Another cool detail, if this is lore, is that the person who posted the story is also deleted. So, if we want to be fun about it, we're going to say that the reader looked at the thing and is erased from the world. And we'll never know what happened.
Yeah, and then maybe they'll come back from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Shadow Realm with an update and tell us what happened.
We'll definitely keep an eye on this, but until then, that's the story, guys. Sorry. But that's wild, insane. Bro. We took 2 weeks off. Insane. Oh, that's hilarious. But also so shitty. We were so late.
Yeah, I mean, that's my fault.
No, you're good, brother.
Maybe they were like hate speeching on Reddit, and then they just like straight up deleted the user.
To be fun, I'm gonna say that the character,
the shadow people took them into
the
their
shadow
dimension.
took it and everything with them. So I mean, I guess that was cool. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this story that we didn't technically finish, but yeah, it kind of did in a way. What are your thoughts on it? Rate it. I give it a 6 out of 10 unfinished story.
So I don't even want to rate it because we never got to finish it. So
it feels.
I will hold off my rating. If this is part of it, it's going to bump up the score.
100%.
But like, I guess if I had to give it a score right now, I'd give it like a 6, like you said too.
Yeah.
And that's because we didn't get to see the other half. That's the part I was excited about.
Yeah, I was excited to see them face the shadow people again. Yeah. This feels like one of those like a movie that sets up a sequel, and then it's like to come to find out they shit canned the whole project.
Yeah, they set it up and it actually bombed at the box office, so they like scrapped the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that like, subscribe. We'll see you next week for a new story.
Check out scissor.com.
Check out Scissor. Check out everything. Please and thank you. All right. See y'all later.
Bye.